Money, 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 money. Everyone knows this hobby of fragrances can be expensive, sometimes eye-wateringly expensive. Hence, in this video, I'm gonna give you guys some tips to save money on fragrances or to use your money as wisely as possible so you don't go down the rabbit hole and end up going bankrupt in a few short weeks.
Mr. Romantic, we have this matte black finish. It is sweet, it's aromatic. I'm getting a little bit of a resinous quality, almost like this warm, sticky sweetness. There is a bit of a spicy quality. There's something about freshness, spice, and sweetness. You put that all together in a fragrance, you have a sexy scent. Labdanum, chamomile, cardamom, lavender, neroli, amber, sandalwood, musk, and vanilla. Armani Code, that's what's coming to mind. Prada Luna Rossa Black. I'm getting the vibes of fragrances like that. Gonna give it some wearings in the evening. That is Mr. Romantic.
Tip number one, as a beginner, it's very tempting to get all the cheap fragrances initially. You see all these online reviews, you see that this cheapie is a banger for the price, etc, 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 and you end up buying 10, 12 cheap fragrances that eventually you're gonna go past, you're gonna move on from, and you're gonna regret having so many of them. For example, I have this fragrance here, Versace Blue Jeans. Does anyone remember this fragrance? I barely talk about this fragrance. It's very good for the price. It's £15, but it's £15 I pretty much wasted because I never use it, I hardly review it. But I still think it's very good. But I just think at the end of the day, most people are gonna go past cheap fragrances. So my tip is only buy a few cheap fragrances to get you into the hobby, get your nose started on some beginner sense, and then move on. I think cheap fragrances do smell at that price tag the vast majority of the times, and you often just wanna reach for the better quality stuff in your collection that you're inevitably going to collect. Tip number two is don't go down the rabbit hole. It's very tempting when you first start collecting fragrances to go down a rabbit hole that you get started on by going online, finding this online fragrance community, going on Fragrantica, and just buying fragrances left, right, and center based on some of the notes you enjoy, what you like seeing, what you like hearing about. You know, this is a problem because you can just end up spending money way too quickly, especially if you're going for lots of cheapies because you think you're not spending as much money as you actually are. Hence why I say don't go for too many cheapies, don't go for too many fragrances in general. My general consensus is go for quality, not quantity in your collection. And here are some further tips to show you how. Don't be tempted by clones too much. Clone fragrances are also very tempting because you think to yourself, I'm getting Creed Aventus, a $300 fragrance for $30, but most of the time it's not the case. So yeah, Creed Aventus, yeah, okay, it's a bit naff, but most expensive fragrances are expensive because they are worth their price tag. I do agree that some fragrances are overpriced, but actually I would say most fragrances you are getting what you pay for. So clone fragrances, again, I really think you should try the originals versus their clone counterparts if you can somehow first, and then see if you want to get a clone fragrance. Don't get a redundant clone that you don't like really because actually it's not as good quality as the original. Again, you end up just reaching for the original fragrances anyway and making your clone fragrances gather dust. My personal belief is that fragrances are a luxury item and I don't think there's anything wrong with just saving up. Even if it's a fragrance is a few £100, just save up because I think you're going to end up being more proud of making that purchase because you saved up for it, you feel more love towards that bottle you got, and you feel more special when you're wearing that expensive fragrance. And that's probably what expensive fragrances are really meant for. You don't want to cheapen them through clones, you don't want to cheapen the artistry and the decades of perfumery that perfumer took to become the creator of that expensive fragrance. So I think we should respect them and appreciate that most of the time you are getting what you pay for. So don't get too tempted by clones. You know, get a few based on reviews online. If they are really outstanding clones, then maybe get a handful. Don't get too many, in my opinion. Tip number four, don't be tempted by flankers. Similar kind of tip. Again, these big fragrance houses will come out with Y Eau de Parfum, and then all of a sudden they've got Y Live, which is a terrible name. Jen Sense has pointed this out before because you can read it as Y Live, which is terrible. Because imagine if you're having a mental health crisis one day and you're going into the department store to look at fragrances to try and cheer your mood up a bit, and you just see Y Live right there in front of you. That's just terrible. I don't know why L'Oreal decided to name that flanker that name, but either way, that flanker is very redundant compared to YEDP, and then YEDP Intense isn't that different to YEDP, and then Y Le Parfum isn't that different to YEDP either. These brands a lot of times will release flankers as cash grabs, in my opinion. That is why you shouldn't get too hyped by them, don't get too tempted. Like when people saw 1 million Royale, I kind of got interested because I was like, oh, another 1 million flanker, but it didn't get very good reviews from what I remember, and it really fizzed out its hype. It really just died down quickly. So don't be tricked by these big names, these big houses who want to capitalize on their already established fragrance releases and try to make a new flanker of them. A lot of times it's not worth the money. Tip number 5 covers what we already said. Go for quality, not quantity in your collection. You need to slow down your spending. You will regret it. Trust me, I've been there, many people have been there. They get too many fragrances and one day they look back and they just think to themselves, what have I done? I don't use 80% of these, they're all gathering dust, and you end up struggling getting rid of them. So just slow down your spending, really get the fragrances that you explore, that you try out first, and really fall in love with. The ones that aren't just good, but they're good for your personality. They really meld and match with you perfectly. Tip number 6, read and research the famous middle-of-the-range and high-end designer fragrances. These are fragrances like your Bleu de Chanel's, your Allure Edition Blanche, your Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfums. In my opinion, when you're sticking in designer land, when you're initially collecting, I think these are the better fragrances to go for compared to the cheaper stuff. Things like Prada L'Homme Intense smells like a niche fragrance at designer price tag. Honestly, these are the best quality fragrances for the buck. I think these are the best value, and I think with designers, these are the price ranges for fragrances that you're actually going to use long-term into the future. I'd rather save up my money and go for a Chanel than get a Davidoff fragrance any day. Tip number 7, go niche. It's gonna happen sooner or later. Eventually everyone goes niche. I would say don't spend too much time in designer lands and actually start upgrading to higher quality stuff so that your fragrance collection doesn't get too big from the designer end of things, so you can save your money and save your attention for niche. So maybe if you want to go to designer later on, get some niche first eventually in your collection. I would say maybe after 10 designer fragrances, go to niche, start exploring niche houses, and see that this is the la creme de la creme of fragrances. Niche fragrances, you get what you pay for the vast majority of the time. You can go into affordable fragrance houses like Mancera, Acqua di Parma, Atrium fragrance, and then you can start moving on to really expensive niche houses when you want to get the top level stuff like Xerjoff, Amouage. These fragrance houses really show you the limitless possibilities of perfumery, and really you want to see that. You want to go and see what perfumery can achieve. It really expands your mind and really helps you appreciate the art more, help you appreciate the love of fragrances more as well. Tip number 8, use reviews. Here I am, guys, I'm here to help you out. You're welcome, guys. No, I thank you for watching this video. By the way, guys, if you haven't subscribed, please do so, because I think only 30% of you who view the videos are subscribed. I want to get that percentage to 40%. That'll make us probably one of the highest ratio of subscribed channels on YouTube. So if you can, guys, that helps out a lot, help the channel to grow. Back to the video. Yes, I would say use reviews. The internet exists. It makes us much more informed citizens of the world now, and I think reviews are extremely useful. Use YouTube reviews, Fragrantica reviews, reviews on Reddit, whatever you want to go on for. They are extremely useful because the fragrance market is so big. There's tens of thousands of choices on the market. You want to consolidate and curate the choices that exist down to more manageable lists. Really find out about fragrances before you go to explore them, before you buy any of them, because you want to know if the notes are correct for you, if the kind of vibe a fragrance gives off is right for you. Is it masculine, feminine, unisex? Is it long lasting? These are the kind of things you need to know that will intrigue you before you make a fragrance purchase, because that's what you want to do. You want to get the quality, the correct fragrances for you, not just all the fragrances. Tip number 9, samples and discovery sets are a must. Now, it is one thing reading about fragrances, but the next level is, of course, you have to experience the fragrances for yourself. Unfortunately, we don't have smell-o-vision yet, so we can't really just provide you a smell through a screen, guys. I wish I could. That would just make fragrance. Can you guys imagine? YouTube fragrance reviews would just explode. It would just become so much more prominent. I really envy like cooking channels. Everyone can just imagine what food tastes like when they watch it through a screen. It's so annoying, it's so unfair. But yes, if you can, go find a nice sample website that's good and local to your region, that's authentic and trustworthy. And of course, go to the official websites of brands. They usually often have a discovery set. For example, Byredo has their own. I think Xerjoff have their own. Mancera do fantastic sample sets. Here you are directly supporting the brands and supporting their work, and you get to experience them in a really convenient way. Everybody's skin is different. You need to get the samples, try out the fragrances on your skin, see how it works with your skin chemistry and how long lasting it is on your skin as well. Tip number 10, discount websites. So I'm going to say, of course, use the internet again and see which websites have your fragrance of choice at the cheapest price possible. Use good quality discounters, ones you can trust. Things like Notina for the UK and EU, or FragranceBuy.ca for Canada and the US. These are legitimate grey market companies, so they get fragrances abroad at a cheaper price and then bring it domestically to you at still a cheaper price for you as the consumer. So if they're trustworthy, they will sell you authentic fragrance bottles. But the but in this tip is that I'm going to say, if you like going to a local store, a physical brick and mortar, you like talking to the store assistants, you enjoy your experience, enjoying the fragrances right there in person, you get to spray them directly, see the bottles in your hand, feel them, see what you're getting into. If you like that experience, I would say, yes, you know you're going to spend more. Brick and mortar businesses cost more than online businesses, but you are going to be supporting something that you enjoy. Put your money where your mouth is, give some money to them for them to stay open, because if you enjoy that experience, you have to support them financially. So I would say, do that. I do encourage people to do that if they enjoy the brick and mortar experience. And finally, tip number 11, Facebook is your friend. I've said it before on this channel, find a good local Facebook swapping and selling group. The idea of these is that you're a local community that loves and is obsessed over fragrances. Let's say they didn't follow the earlier tips of this video and they bought 100 fragrances, they want to get rid of 70 of them. This is the best spot for cheap fragrances. You get authentic, legitimate fragrance bottles that people really want to get rid of. They want to get rid of them quickly. I've gotten insane deals such as Tom Ford Noir Extreme going from like £120 to like £30 for me, something insane like that, a nearly full bottle. And that's where you see the B-roll of my Noir Extreme is from. It's from Facebook selling groups. The vast majority of the time, nothing will go wrong. These are trustworthy people. You can often just search their names in the Facebook group and see previous transactions. You can see that people are happy with them and they find them trustworthy. Facebook groups are lifesavers. They can get you fragrances so cheap. As I said before, really expensive fragrances for like a quarter of the price sometimes. You get absolute bargains, absolute steals. And they're a great way for you if potentially you also have now bought too many fragrances, you don't know where to get rid of them to, you don't know how to get rid of them, sell them. This is a good place for you to sell them as well. So it's kind of passing the love around, guys. It creates a little community and everyone wins. So there we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Did you find these tips useful? Are there any more money saving tips or money wise, financially wise tips that you would give to people in the community as well? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to check out our other videos on fragrance mistakes everyone should avoid. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye-bye.